Good morning, everyone. I'm Judge Blake Adams. We're here for civil motion hearings this morning. See who's present for the 9 o'clock this morning. Okay. All right, the first case we're going to call this morning is Palisades Collection LLC v. Russell Belia, case number 05SC1077. Do I have
Good
the
morning, Your Honor. Christina Mole on behalf of the plaintiff.
Good morning.
Brian Silvasi on behalf of the defendant, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, and we're here on a claim of exemption, is that correct?
Yes, Your
Yes,
Honor.
Your Honor.
All right. All right, you may proceed.
So, Your Honor, I did receive the notice of appearance by Mr. Rubin and also the claim of exemption on behalf of his client, indicating that the defendant is providing more than one half of the support for a child or dependent. Net earnings are more than $750 per week, but have not agreed to have the wages garnished in writing yet. So we haven't received any documentation thus far. I mean, Mr. Silvasi and I typically work very well together, but without receiving any proof of his earnings or not having him present today to question, I mean, I don't really know how I could be proceeding further.
All right, defense.
Your Honor, he was supposed to be on the phone, but to address their objection and counter affidavit, if it's not based on factual information of his traverse, then their actual objection to his claim of exemption should be stricken, because their objection or affidavit in opposition has to be based on actual evidence and testimony. It's at that point, it's not my client's burden to prove. They need to have sufficient evidence to traverse and go against that. That being said, like I said, he does have the information. He was supposed to be here this morning. Do we know for sure he's not on the line?
I've got one person whose screen name is iPhone, and I've got one person whose screen name is Galaxy S20 plus 5G. So I don't know if one of those is Mr. Belia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, I have his cell as being a 239 number.
Can I have the person whose screen name is iPhone unmute?
Hello?
Can you tell me your name?
Yeah, Russell Belia.
Well, there you go.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. How would you like to proceed now?
So,
Okay.
go ahead, Brian.
Go
What
ahead,
were you
I'm
going to say?
Yeah, I mean, if the court wants us to proceed, then certainly prepared to proceed.
All right. Mr. Belia, will you raise your right hand to be sworn?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Belia, can you please provide how old you are?
Your Honor, this is my witness. I believe I'm the one that calls to prove up his claim of exemption, not the plaintiff.
I believe you're correct.
Sir, could you please state your full name for the record?
Russell Allen Belia,
Okay, and your current address?
2553 Van Buren Avenue, Naples, Florida.
And are you currently employed with Greenshire and Associates?
Greenspire, yes, sir.
Okay, and you get paid weekly there?
I get paid every week, yes, sir.
And approximately how much is your take home?
It's a salary of $278 a week. I'm sorry, $778 a week.
Okay, and you filed a claim of exemption claiming that you provide more than one half of the support for a child or other dependent. What's the name of the individual you're claiming as your dependent?
Mason Belia.
And what's his relation to you?
He is my son.
Okay, and how long has he lived with you?
He's lived with me since he was 10 years old.
Okay,
And he's 20 now, so 10 years.
okay. And where you live, do you pay rent or mortgage?
I pay rent, yes, sir.
And how much do you pay in rent?
That is $1,300 a month.
And how many bedrooms and baths?
2 bedroom, 1 bath.
And does your son pay any rent, any part of that rent?
No, sir. No.
You have obviously utility bill each month. How much approximately is that?
For my utilities monthly is about $299 a month.
And does your son pay any of
And
your
that includes? No, sir.
Okay. Do you pay for all the groceries at the home?
All the grocery, yes, sir.
And is your son mostly most of his meals at the house?
Most of them, yes.
Do you provide your son with transportation?
Yes, I pay for a truck that he has.
And how much is that payment each month?
That is $450 a month.
Okay. And do you pay for the insurance on that vehicle as well?
The insurance, yes, I do.
And approximately how much is that?
For him, he's combined on my policy, but for him, it's $130 a month.
And do you also provide a cell phone for him?
Yes, I do.
And how much is that each month?
And that is $112 a month.
Okay. And you solely pay that bill as well, correct?
I pay, yes, sir, I do.
Okay. How about health insurance? Do you carry health insurance on your son?
Health insurance, yes. He's combined with me, and that's $500 a month.
Okay. And is he currently in school?
Yes, he is in a trade school for marine mechanics right now.
Okay. And you pay for that school?
Well, it was a prepaid college, which I had previously paid for, but it ended, a few years ago.
Right. But it's you paid into it, and it's in your name for his benefit. Do you know how much his trade school cost each semester?
I believe it was like $1,800. Unfortunately, the actual account is in his mother's name. Okay. And she's handling the payments for these semesters. But we were married at that time when we, when we were saving for his college, for his schooling. And but now she's actually handling the payments, and it's $1,800 per semester, and it's 2 semesters of 6 months.
And if he has books and supplies, who pays for that? Have you paid for any of his tools or anything like that?
A little bit for his tools. I don't think he's paying for any kind of books right now. But probably around $250 for tools.
Okay. Have you filed your 2020 taxes yet?
No, I haven't.
Is it your intent to claim your son on your 2020 taxes?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into that. So.
Okay. And the last year you filed taxes, did you claim your son?
Yes.
Anything else you would like to add to the court for them to consider about expenses that you pay for your son?
Actually, he does have a job of his own. Okay, with Home Depot. It's part-time. He makes about, I don't know, every 2 weeks he gets paid, so he probably makes about $280 or so every 2 weeks. And he just uses that for his expenses. He pays his own gas. He's got an Xbox, of course, that he pays. He pays for Netflix, for himself, for in his room, and then other than that, he's got a girlfriend too, so can get expensive.
Right.
So, okay.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any questions from the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor, I would have a couple of questions if that's okay with Mr. Silvese.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Mr. Belay, you claim that you did claim your son as a dependent on your 2019 tax return?
No, it was on my 2018. I haven't done my 19 either yet, so.
Okay, so in 2018, your son was 18 years old when you claimed him as a dependent, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been divorced from your wife or separated?
Let me think here. He was 6 when we got separated, so about 14 years.
Okay. And does she work?
No, she's unfortunately a major alcoholic.
Are you receiving any other type of money other than your son's job, any government assistance or anything like that?
I'm not receiving any money from my son's job at all.
No, not from him, from government assistance, welfare, any other additional income coming into the house?
No, ma'am.
Well, Your Honor, no further questions from the plaintiff. I mean, based off of all the testimony that was presented, I wouldn't find that Mr. Belea's son is a dependent, considering he claimed him on his tax return in 2018 when he was 18. He does have a part-time job. While I understand that he's still in school, I mean, he hasn't done his 2019 or 2020 tax returns yet, but I would not find that he is considered a dependent. So I would still want to proceed forward with the garnishment.
Right. Defense?
Your Honor, the statute's very clear. It says child or other dependent. The fact that filing on taxes is not dispositive one way or another. Clearly, there's divorces that allow one parent to claim versus the other, whether one parent's working or not. He's testified he did claim the child the last time he filed. He's testified to well over $1,000 of support, where he lives at home for free, eats at home for free, paying over $600 for his vehicle. He's the one that paid in for the college. He's the one that's doing all these. So clearly in the money amounts, he's providing more than half of the support for this child, and he should be entitled to the exemption at this time.
Let me ask you about, does the statute define other dependent? I'll start with you, Ms. Millay.
Not to my knowledge, Your Honor, but to be honest with you, I'd have to read into it further. So I wouldn't want to comment further to the court.
All right.
You'd like me to address that, Your Honor? Yes, Your Honor. The statute doesn't. The statute says child or other dependent, but there have been a few cases that have come down that have found girlfriends, significant others, adult children to be dependents. The case law basically says as long as there's a course of dealing, I believe one case was 6+ months and another case was 12+ months. As long as there was a course of dealing where you made someone a dependent of yours and it was clear that they were dependent, those courts have found significant others to even be an other dependent. Clearly, stepchildren, you don't have a legal obligation. Technically, your girlfriends, you don't. But in these days and times, more and more people are forgoing marriage and living together. And like I said, I know there's a couple of cases out there that have dealt with it. Once it's established that there's a course of dealing between the two parties and one being the provider over the other one, then the courts have found that the person to be a dependent as well.
All right. Any response to that, Ms. Millay?
In terms of the case law that Mr. Silvese is referencing, I mean, one case I do vaguely remember, but I don't remember what DCA it's out of or if it would even be binding precedent for this jurisdiction that we're in. So I would want to see more of the case law in order to consider that. I mean, based off of, I just quickly pulled up the statute again, I would stick firm with what I initially said, that it is, I mean, pretty clear. It doesn't define another dependent. So I'm still sticking with the position that I don't consider his son a dependent.
And that's solely on the basis that it doesn't seem that he would probably be able to file as a dependent federal taxes.
I would say that, yes, is one of the reasons. And in addition to him also having a job, I mean, he's 20 years old, and Mr. Silvese and also his client testified that the school is only a 2-year, 2-semester each program. So if I understood correctly, that would mean that he's finishing school this coming semester. So, I mean, I wouldn't believe that he's a dependent.
Your Honor, he's testified he can claim, obviously under federal law, if you provide more than half of the support for a child, you can claim the child, and it's his intent to try to do that when he files his taxes. I've spoken to him. Mr. Belea?
Yes, sir.
Could you please advise the court, when did your son start his trade school?
January 4th of this year.
Okay, so he just started last month.
Right.
Okay, so he's not in his last semester.
No.
So I just wanted to clarify that, Your Honor.
That's fine. Thank you for clarifying. The only thing, Your Honor, I mean, that I would comment, then if we go based off of what Mr. Silvesi is saying, then I mean, someone that's technically a 40-year-old child of a parent, if they're being fully supported or they're providing support for that person, then anyone could be claiming someone, no matter what their age is, as a dependent.
And I believe that to be accurate based on the case law that's out there and the fine reading of the statute. I mean, we don't know it's a child or other dependent. It's a course of dealing. We're not talking about a 40-year-old. We're talking about a 20-year-old that's in college that has a small part-time job, it's not just living at home for free and having his meals paid. His health insurance is being paid, his cell phone's being paid, his automobile's being paid, his automobile insurance and all that's being paid. And he's testified, what we've heard is testified in specific amounts that are in more than half the support for this child. So under the clear meaning of the statute, I believe he's entitled to it at this point. Like I said, we're not talking about a 40-year-old individual. We're talking about a 20-year-old individual. And if in a year's time, he's no longer in school or living at home or making a higher wage, then maybe the exemption won't be entitled at that point. But under the statute, it's time and place. And at this time, I think it's clear that he is entitled to the exemption, Your Honor.
All right, based on the testimony of Mr. Bellier and the arguments of counsel, I'm going to make a finding that Mason Bellier is an other dependent of Mr. Bellier. Based on that finding, Ms. Mole, any arguments then as to the claim of exemption?
I mean, the only thing that we would ask is if there's any amount that Mr. Bellier would be willing to obviously provide if he's going to be found exempt from garnishment of his wages at this time.
All right.
Mr. Bellier, do you want to do this through the leaving a garnishment in place at a certain amount? Can I ask you, Christina, what's the amount that's owed? I think there was some confusion about that.
So I can give you two different things. The judgment was entered in 2005. That amount was $1,810.50 at the time it was put in place. And to date, with interest and costs, it's up to $2,258.63. Okay,
Mr. Bellier, what the court what plaintiff's counsel is asking is if you would like to agree to have a certain amount come out each payroll, obviously lesser than what it is now, that would allow you to survive and support your son and leave the garnishment in place to pay towards the $2,258 to get this resolved. So if your circumstances and your son's circumstances change, say in 12 months, we're not back in the same situation.
Okay, so with that,
you could let let me explain one thing, and this is usually I'd be doing this privately with you, but you could let the court rule. I think what everybody's trying to say, if the court rules, the court may dissolve the garnishment, and there's no garnishment at this time, but that doesn't prevent Attorney Moley and Palisades from coming back this time next year if your son's out of college or moved out and your circumstances have changed. So you have two options. You could let the court rule and see what happens, and if it's dissolved, deal with it in the future, or you could say, let's do $35 a week, and that's whatever that is, that's $140 a month, and maybe you would be paid off in, say, 16 months. I don't know what the math is, I'm guessing there.
Yeah, I would like just to have the court rule. That would be fine with me.
Okay. All right. I find that the defendant is entitled to a claim of exemption. And would order the dissolvement of the writ.
Do you want us to prepare that order for you, Your Honor?
Yes, that would be helpful. Thank you. If you could email that to my judicial assistant in Word format, we'll get that entered today.
Okay, not a problem.
Thank you, Your Honor. Y'all have a good day and be
Thank you,
safe.
Thank you
everyone.
very much.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Right, the next case I have on the 9 o'clock docket is Suncoast Federal Credit Union v. Timothy Mitchell, case number 10CC2680.
Good morning, Your Honor. Stacy St. Hubert. I'm here on behalf of the plaintiff, Suncoast Federal Credit Union.
Good morning, Ms. St. Hubert. And do I have anyone for Timothy Mitchell present?
Yes, it's Timothy Mitchell here.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Mitchell. Give me a moment to pull up your
Good morning.
All right, we're here on a claim of exemption similar to the one we just heard. Mr. Mitchell, would you like an opportunity to speak with Ms. St. Hubert privately to try to reach some type of settlement agreement, or would you like to go ahead, me to put you under oath and you go ahead and provide the court with information as it relates to your situation?
I think we can go ahead and try to go forward.
All right. If you'll raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right. Thank you. Will you state your name?
Timothy Hughes Mitchell.
All right. Thank you. Ms. St. Hubert, since Mr. Mitchell is unrepresented, would you like to proceed with questioning Mr. Mitchell?
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Mitchell.
Good morning.
I'm about to go through some questions that will help the court determine whether or not you're head of family, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, where do you work?
Tacos and Tequila.
Okay.
That's under you guys, the actual
The LLC?
name. Yeah, the three Rush Kids.
Okay. Do you have any ownership interest in the company, or are you just an employee?
Just an employee.
Okay. Are you salaried or hourly?
Salary.
And what's your salary?
My take home is $1,642 biweekly.
Okay. And are you on any type of disability, or do you receive any type of government aid? I'm sorry, sir?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any other sources of income?
I do not.
Okay. And where do you live?
145 Viking Way, Naples, Florida, 34110.
And do you rent or own?
I rent.
Okay. Who lives with you at that address?
My 17-year-old son who's in high school, and my 19-year-old daughter who is a college student.
Anybody else?
No.
Okay. What's your marital status?
Single?
Do you receive any type of child support for the 17-year-old or the 19-year-old?
No, ma'am.
And your testimony today is that you provide 100 of the support for your 17-year-old and your 19-year-old?
That is correct.
Does your 19-year-old work?
She does part-time, and just recently found out that I'm going to be a grandfather come July.
Understood. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else reside at that address? I'm sorry if I've asked you that before. I didn't make a notation. Just the two kids and you?
Correct.
Your Honor, I have no further questions. It appears that Mr. Mitchell is head of family with respect to his 17-year-old.
All right. I'll make a finding that Mr. Mitchell is entitled to a claim of exemption and order the dissolvement of the writ.
Would you like us to prepare the order and submit the same, Your Honor?
Yes, please, Ms. St.
Yes.
Hubert, if you could do that and provide that in Word format to my judicial assistant, and we'll get that filed as soon as you get that over to us.
Understood. Thank you so much, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
All right. Thank you both. Have a good day.
All right,
Thank
you
you.
too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. The next case I have on the 9 o'clock docket is On Deck Capital Incorporated v. Mario Brothers Detailing and Mario Pasos, 19 CC 863.
Yes, good morning, Your Honor. My
Good
name is
morning.
Leslie Evans. I'm here on behalf of the plaintiff.
All right. Good morning. All right. Let me pull this case up. All right, we're here on a motion for order to show cause. And
Yes,
Ms. Evans, what are we looking to show cause for?
So
Discovery requests?
yes, in aid of execution. This court entered a motion or an order to compel the defendants to respond to these discovery requests last year, and they failed to do so. And so now we're requesting the court to give them one more opportunity to give us the discovery, or otherwise explain to the court why cause why they did not do so.
Okay. And they're not present. So your motion for order to show cause is granted. What specific, let me pull up your motion here. All right, I'll order that the defendants comply with the order on the motion to compel responses to discovery and should
And grant
they,
attorney's fees and costs too, please.
I'm sorry,
And grant attorney's fees and costs too, please.
I will grant attorney's fees and costs as it relates to this motion, and that amount was $615 in attorney's fees, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, any additional costs, or does that include costs?
I believe that includes the costs that will be incurred to serve the defendant.
Okay. All right, and you'll prepare a proposed order for me?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and if you could email that in Word format to my judicial assistant. I'm assuming if the defendant does not comply, then the court will issue a writ of bodily attachment. Is that correct?
We're requesting the court to have one more hearing, let him appear, and if he fails to do so, then issue a writ of bodily attachment.
Okay, all right, if you'll specify that in your proposed order.
Okay.
Okay, any questions?
All right. No, Your Honor, that's it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Evans. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Good morning, Sherelle.
Good morning, Judge. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good, any questions about any of that so far?
No, sir. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, I guess we'll take a little recess. Do we have anything set for 10?
I don't see anything set for 10. The remainder looks like 11.
Just take a look here.
There is one case. And
A couple of them don't, I don't.
yeah, there's
see
one
them.
that doesn't have a time on it. So I don't know if it was at
okay.
11 or.
Let me pull up, I'm looking at the notices right now. Well, it looks like, oh, let me see, here's the,
I found another case that was noticed for 9.
you did?
19 SC 1554.
Okay, let me look at it. Yeah, I do see that that's 9 o'clock. Well, they obviously did not appear, so I'll dismiss the plaintiff's motion to compel. I'll prepare the order on that.
Okay.
Maybe they received the fact information sheet and failed to tell us.
The strange is it's scheduled in showcase, but it wasn't listed on your docket for some reason that I printed this morning.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and order the dismissal of the motion to compel.
Okay.
And I'll do a written order on that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Sure.
See you back at 10.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, Sherelle. Are you there? Still there?
I'm here.
Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the meeting
Okay. I'll log off.
and then
Okay.
we'll log back in at 10.
Sounds good.
All right. Same
All
Zoom
right.
codes.
Okay.
Or I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
I guess 11. 11. Not
11 o'clock.
That's why I keep saying 10.